Okay, hello everybody. Today we'll be learning about the era from 600 to 1450. Now, many things happened in this era, and one of the first things that happened, like, was feudalism. Basically, in this era, like, you had this king or something, and he is not able to like control every single aspect of of like peasant life and so this caused the emergence of feudalism. So these were all basically ideas, like ways in which the monarch's power was becoming decentralized, and decentralization, a form of this decentralization of the monarch was the creation of feudalism. And basically, feudalism was based on was a political system. Feudalism, basically a political system that was based on an exchange of land for service. So feudalism was a political system, political system. That's very significant. And then basically the knights had to obey these code of laws called chivalry, and and another significant factor from this era was Christianity. Christianity was basically one of the main force of unifying the whole Europe. Like most of Europe had like their own problems. They had their own political demise and stuff, but Christianity was basically the unifying force that kept all of Europe unified. So Christianity equals unification, equals unified. And another part of this era was that this era, uh, in this era, in this era, the the Pope had a lot of political power, and basically in this era there was a competition between like emperors and popes. There's a competition between emperors and popes. But one of the significant factor that also happened in this era, like at 800, was the was the was that Charlemagne got crowned by Pope Leo. So this is a significant factor, and this is one of the first significant factors that led to the creation of the Holy Roman Empire. And and furthermore, as I mentioned before, the monarch's power was becoming decentralized. So many things happened in this era. So that's why I'm going a little fast. So the monarch's power was becoming decentralized. So and one of a significant like a symbolic form of this was that at 1215 there was a creation of the Magna Carta, the which made a code of laws that limited the monarch's power. Although this happened in England, it wasn't present in France. So France centralized had a more centralized had a more centralized authority. So another significant factor in this era which was holy wars, an attempt to regain holy land. Though, so basically, the Crusades could be divided into like three categories. Like the Crusades, the main goals of the Crusades was to first get rid of the knights. So I'm gonna just write knights here. Main goal of the Crusades was to get rid of the knights that didn't have any jobs. It was to give jobs to the knights since they didn't quite obey to the laws of chivalry. That's one. Get rid of knights. And then the second part was to regain Holy Land. Regain Holy Land. Regain Holy Land. So so I'm gonna go a little fast since we don't have enough time. So So in this hour, like another significant factor is urbanization, which was which was although the majority of people in medieval Europe remained in the countryside working as peasants and serfs, an increasingly large number were moving into cities, and this caused the which caused urbanization to happen, like an increasing mobilization, urbanization. And another significant factor in this era was also the bubonic plague, which also led bubonic plague. The bubonic plague was also a significant factor that led to humanism and the birth of the Renaissance because of the loss in potential in and reliance on the church. So let's skip. So let's skip to Islam in the Middle East and in the Middle East in this era. So in this era, the era 1600s, very significant because this is when Islam was this one is the birth of Muhammad and this created and this started Islam. Started Islam. And after Muhammad's death, Muhammad's followers or his companions, he chose companions from he chose specific companions to lead the people after his death, and then these people are called the Khalif. They're known as the Khalif. And basically after the Khalif led to the spread of Islam. They spread the religion of Islam through like military conquest, and also after the Khalif came the Umayyad Khalif. So after the Orthodox Khalif from Muhammad came the Umayyad Khalif. Umayyad Khalif. Umayyad Khalif. And they was the one who imposed tax on those who weren't Muslim the at the places they conquered. And then following the Umayyad dynasty was the Abbasid Khalif. So after the Umayyad dynasty was the the Abbasid the Abbasid Caliphate, which lasted from 1750 to 1258. So 1258, and the spread of Islam spread through the Middle East and through parts of Africa like Mali. And Mali is very significant for Islam because Mali's one of most Mali's most prominent leaders during this time was Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa also he helped like he helped Mali become like one of the very significant empires of his time. So Mali was was Islamic was Islamic because of the spread of Islam. So basically, all of this just shows the trend of how like trade and how religion affects the political and economic systems of societies and stuff. So now let's move to China, China and Japan. So in China, Japan during this era you had the Tang Dynasty, and then under the Tang, China became larger than ever before. So so I'm just going really fast because there's many things that happen in this hour that are significant. So you had uh you had the creation of the Tang Dynasty, and this lasted from 1618 to 1906, and then China was able to really stabilize during this time because the King Dynasty, the dynasty that came before, created the Grand Canal, which and this really helped them. And then also under the king, the king. This is not from this dynasty. This is not from this time period. They also created legalism, which was a very strict form of governing the land, and then oppressive forms. But even though it was oppressive, they got a lot of things done. Like they built the infrastructures, and this helped personally help the Tang develop better. Like the Tang economy grew strong thanks to an advanced infrastructure, roads and waterways and canals, especially the Grand Canal, which the Sui dynasty created. The Sui dynasty created this, not the king, the Sui dynasty. So the Sui dynasty that came before, they really helped the Tang dynasty like really economically develop into a very good uh dynasty. And women in Chinese like the women in Chinese society, the Neo-Confucianism, along with Chinese tradition, was used to justify the greater subordination of women. So basically, during China, like there was foot binding and stuff, so women were treated like very poorly. And then the Mongol conquest in the Yuan China, like as Genghis Khan and his sons began their conquest, the Chinese states were among the first targets. Like Genghis Khan, Genghis Khan had a very cultural influence on China itself. Genghis Khan and his son and his grandson, like Kublai Khan, they created what's known to be the Yuan dynasty of China, and the early Ming dynasty, and then there was this rebel whose name was Zhu Wanzang, and he ended basically the Wang Empire, not the Wang dynasty, the Wang Empire, the Wang Empire. Zhu, yeah, uh, Zhu ended the Wang Empire, and he created what's not known as the Ming Dynasty. It's known as the Ming Dynasty. Okay, so Japan during this era was feudal. You had a feudal Japan, and it was basically one of the first steps to Japan becoming a feudal power because of like the monarch, like the emperor couldn't control every single land simultaneously, especially because of the geographical features of the land, which is basically a whole bunch of islands separated by sea. And feudal Japan and the first shogunate, uh, as before, the emperor was a symbolic, important figurehead. Like this emperor was a figurehead, but real power belonged to the shogun. Two shoguns governed Japan before the country's breakup. Okay, so we can move on. Now let's move on and to Korea and Vietnam. Like what's significant about this factor was block printing, which began in Korea. Block printing. This is a significant factor because it helped like the spread of knowledge flow more easily. The block printing, and you also had the movable type in China too. Yeah, also had the movable type in China. And what happened in India was that you had the formation of the Delhi Sultanate, which lasted from 1206 to 1520s. The Muslims captured the city of Delhi, and most of the northern India fell into their hands. Muslim generals established the Sultanate. So Muslims established the Delhi Sultanate. So let's just erase this because it's not part of it. The Muslims created the Delhi Sultanate in in India. So the Delhi Sultanate. Okay, Delhi Sultanate. Okay, and this happened. And this happened. The Delhi Sultanate was created from 1206 to 1520s, and and in this area you also had the Khmer and Suravijayana empires. For years, the two most developed states in South Asia were the Khmer Empire, 500 to 1454, in Cambodia, and the Suravijayana Empire. The Khmer civilization emerged in Cambodia and Laos by 500s. And also you had the Indian Ocean trade. One of the world's most vibrant commercial economies centered on the Indian Ocean trade. which joined East Africa, Arabian, the Persian Gulf, India, the Malay Peninsula, Indonesia, China, and Japan. Okay, so okay, so this is basically one of the uh general ideas from this era. There's too many for me to go specifically into detail. So.